Hello and welcome to LawSikho. Let's cover the key highlights for the budget for the financial year 25. See, please understand this particular video is going to be very data oriented, and this should help you in your exam where budget related data it is tested. So first of all, please understand this budget was presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and here's one factual trivia that you may make a note of. So for the first time in history, Nirmala Sitharaman has become the only person who has presented the union budget for the 7th consecutive time. Earlier, this record was held by Morarji Desai, who had presented 6 consecutive budgets, and Nirmala Sitharaman is the new record holder with a number of 7 consecutive budget presentations. Now let's understand the theme for this year. So it is employment, skilling, micro, small and medium enterprises and middle class. Let's start with having a look at the budget estimates. So for financial year 25, the total receipts, it is estimated at rupees 32.07 lakh crore, while the total expenditure, which is often called the budget size, it is estimated at rupees 48.21 lakh crore. As far as the net tax receipts is concerned, it is estimated at rupees 25.83 lakh crore. Now let's understand the economic and fiscal related highlights in the budget. So the fiscal deficit target for the government for financial year 25, it is at 5.1% of the GDP, while the government is gradually aiming to bring it down to 4.5% in financial year 26. The capital expenditure here, an allocation of rupees 11.11 lakh crore for capital expenditure is announced, thereby maintaining it to 3.4% of the GDP. Let's talk about the market borrowings. So the gross and net borrowings, it is reduced to rupees 14.01 lakh crore from rupees 14.13 lakh crore and rupees 11.63 lakh crore respectively for gross and net. Now let's talk about inflation, which is something that the general public is mostly affected by. So inflation, it continues to be low, stable, and moving towards the 4% target. As far as core inflation is concerned, which is minus the food and the fuel related items, so non-food and fuel related item targeted inflation. So it is at 3.1%. Now, please understand this time around in the budget, there are 9 key areas which have been identified by the government, and with respect to which there is, the allocation of budget or the announcement of policy decision that has been done. So let's understand the priorities for Viksit Bharat. Now, what is Viksit Bharat? See, the government is essentially aiming to convert India from a developing nation to a developed country by the year 2047. So the priorities, 9 priority areas, will cover one by one, and we'll understand what is, the government's approach for those priority areas. So first of all, let's start with the first priority, which is around agriculture. So the heading for the same is productivity and resilience in agriculture. Now, please understand here, the government has, sort of emphasized the need for farmers, more and more farmers, in fact, to indulge into natural farming techniques. So 1 crore farmers across the country will be initiated into, or will be, entering into natural farming, supported by certification and branding in the next 2 years. Then 10,000 need-based bio-input resource centers, they are to be established. Apart from that, financing for shrimp farming, processing and export, it will be facilitated through NABARD. Digital public infrastructure for agriculture, it is to be implemented for coverage of farmers and their lands, and this is to be done in the course of next 3 years. Digital crop survey, it is also on the pipelines for 400 districts. Apart from that, there is going to be issuance of the Jan Samarath based Kisan credit cards. Lastly, agriculture sector, there is going to be allocation of rupees 1.52 lakh crore for the agriculture sector. Additionally, new 109 high-yielding and climate-resilient varieties of 32 fields and horticulture crops, it is to be released for cultivation by the farmers. Now, please understand the second priority area would be employment and skilling, and this is something that is affecting us directly, the youth of India. So please understand here, the government has announced a package of 5 schemes, which is targeted at and which is estimated to benefit 4.1 crore youth of India over the expanse of 5 years that the government is in power. So let's talk about Scheme A. And this is targeting the first-time employees, the first-time youth who are seeking employment. So 1 month salary of up to rupees 15,000, 3 installments to first-time employees as registered in the EPFO. This is expected to, sort of benefit nearly 210 lakh youth. Scheme B here, it is targeting job creation in the manufacturing sector, and it is again addressing first-time employees. Incentives is to be provided to both employees and employers for EPFO contributions in the first 4 years of employment, and this is expected to help nearly 30,000 youth. Scheme C, it is to support employers. The government is to reimburse up to rupees 3,000 per month for a course of 2 years towards EPFO contributions for employers for each additional employee. And this is, sort of expected to generate nearly 50 lakh jobs. 20 lakh youth, it is to be skilled over a period of 5 years. 10,000 industrial training institutes, they are to be upgraded in hub and spoke arrangements. Apart from that, model skill loan scheme, it is to be revised to facilitate loan up to rupees up to 7.5 lakh. Then financial support for loan up to rupees 10 lakh for higher education in domestic institutions. Lastly, to facilitate higher participation of women in workforce, the government is planning to set up, the working women hostels in collaboration with the industry. Now let's cover the third area of priority, which is the inclusive human resource development and social justice. Here, essentially, we're going to target, human resource related infrastructure for Eastern and Northeastern India. So first is an update about Purvodaya. This is a scheme which is going to target Eastern India, which covers the belt of states like Bihar, West Bengal, then we have Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, so on and so forth. So here, industrial node at Gaya, it is to be developed along the Amritsar-Kolkata industrial corridor. Scheme for women and girls. So over rupees 3 lakh crore, it is allocated, including hostels and skilling programs. Next is Pradhan Mantri Janjatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan. So this is a socio-economic security sort of a scheme which is catering to tribal community upliftment. Next, there is an announcement for opening more bank branches in northeastern states and regions, so that economic infrastructure can be developed so as to ensure more growth for those states. Lastly, we talk about the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act and the announcements made with respect to that. So there is an announcement of special financial support through multilateral development agencies of rupees 15,000 crore in the current financial year. Apart from that, there is industrial node at the Koparthi along with the Vishakhapatnam Chennai industrial corridor. Then we have another industrial node at Orvakal. This is along the Hyderabad Bangalore industrial corridor. Now let's cover the fourth priority area, which is related to manufacturing and services. So first is credit guarantee scheme for these for the medium, small and micro enterprises in the manufacturing sector. So this is for purchase of machinery and equipments. Then there is enhanced scope for mandatory onboarding on the TREADS platform. So this is done by reducing the mark of 500 crore to 200 crore benchmark now. Then MSME unit for food irradiation and quality and safety testing. Next is an update about the Mudra loans. So here, out of the 3-4 categories under the Mudra loan, there is an increase in the limit to rupees 20 lakh from 10 lakh under the Tarun category. Next, credit support to MSMEs during stress period. This is also announced, and this is to facilitate continuation. Next is a scheme for providing internship opportunities in 500 top companies to 1 crore youth in the 5-year term. Then this is followed by allocation or allowance of rupees 5,000 per month along with one-time assistance of rupees 6,000 through the CSR funds. Then we have 12 industrial parks under the National Industrial Corridor Development Program. There's also, identification of critical mineral missions for domestic production, recycling, and overseas acquisitions. Now let's cover the sixth priority area, which is urban development. So encouraging states to lower stamp duties for property purchases, especially properties purchased by women. This is also, one of the key areas which is identified and highlighted in the budget, followed by development of 100 weekly huts or street food hubs every year in the next 5 years. So that is also on the lines. And this you can correlate with one of the scheme, which is called the Prime Minister Swanidhi scheme, which we also talked about in our Q&A video just yesterday, I believe. Then is transit-oriented development plans for 14 large cities with a population over 30 lakh. Next is the Pradhan Mantri or the Prime Minister Awas Yojana Urban 2.2. So here 10 lakh crore in next 5 years it is proposed, and this is proposed to address the housing needs of 1 crore urban poor and also middle class families. Now let's cover the next area of importance, which is the area of energy security. So please understand energy transition pathways. They are announced to balance the imperatives of employment, growth and environmental sustainability. This is to be brought out. Pumped storage policy for electricity storage and facilitation of smooth integration of the growing shares of renewable energy. It is to be brought out. Another highlight would be next would be AUSE thermal power plant between NTPC and BHEL. It will be set up. It will set up a full-scale 800 megawatt commercial plant. Now let's talk about the next priority area, which is the infrastructure sector. So here, 3.4% of our GDP, which is nearly 11 crore 11,111 crore. I'm sorry, 11 lakh 11,111 crore, which amounts to 3.3% of the GDP. It is to be provided for capital expenditure for infrastructure. And then 1.5 lakh crore for long-term interest-free loans. It is to support states. Then we have Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, phase 4, to provide all-weather connectivity to 25,000 rural inhabitants. Next, let's talk about irrigation and flood mitigation efforts and what announcements have been made in the budget. So 11,500 crore to Kosi Mechi intra-state link and other schemes in Bihar. This is announced. Assistance to Assam, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Sikkim. So these are the states to which assistance will be specifically given for flood, landslides and other related projects. Next, assistance for reconstruction and rehabilitation in Himachal Pradesh is also announced. Now let's talk about tourism. So development of Vishnupad Temple Corridor, Mahabodhi Temple Corridor and Rajgir, it is made. Then development of Nalanda as a tourist center, it is also announced. Now let's talk about the next priority area, which is innovation, research and development. So here there is one fund which is announced, which is the Anusandhan National Research Fund. This is for basic research and prototype development. It is to be operationalized. Apart from that, financing tool of rupees 1 lakh crore for spurring private sector driven research and innovation at commercial scale. It is also announced. Venture capital fund of rupees 1,000 crore. It is to be set up for expanding the space economy by 5 times in the coming 10 years. That is also on the pipelines in the budget. Now let's talk about the last priority area, which is the next generation reforms. So here first we have the unique land parcel identification number, or the BHU or Bhu Aadhar for all lands. Bhu Aadhar for all lands, that's also in the announcements. Now let's talk about survey of map subdivisions as per current ownership. That is also one of the next generation reforms that has been announced. The third reform is linkages to the farmers' registries. Fourth being land records in urban areas. They will be digitized with GIS mapping. The fifth reform is digitization of the cadastral maps. Sixth being establishment of land registry. Next being taxonomy for climate finances. And the next reform being FDIs and promote opportunities for using Indian rupee as a currency for overseas investment. Another reform, next generation reform, being NPS Vatsalya. What is that? This is a plan for contribution by parents and guardians for minors. Another improvement or reform being improvement of data governance, collection and processing and management of data and of that of statistics. And the last reform being new pension scheme, a solution that addresses the relevant issues, protects the common citizens, and maintains fiscal prudence. It will be informed. We all know how there's a long-standing dispute with respect to old pension scheme, the new pension scheme. So this is something that has been announced here in the budget. Now that we've covered all the priorities priority areas. Let's talk about the tax structure, which is again something that the general public is very much affected by. So let's talk about direct taxes first of all, and income tax. So the standard deduction, it is increased from rupees 50,000 to 75,000, and the new tax regime, it is as follows. So if the income structure is between 0 to 3 lakh, then the tax deduction would be 0%. Income slab being 7 lakh to 10 lakh, tax would be 10%. For income slab 10 to 15 lakhs, it would be 15%. For between 15 to 12 to 15 lakh, it would be nearly 15%. I'm sorry, 20%. And for 15 lakh and above, it is going to be 30%. Salaried employees, they can save up to rupees 17,500 in income tax, and deduction on family pension for pensioners, it is increased from 15,000 to 25,000. Now let's talk about the capital gains tax. So long-term capital gains tax, it is increased to 12.5% from 10%. Then short-term capital gains tax, it is again increased from 20%. It is increased to 20% from earlier 15%. Then capital gains exemption limit, it is set at rupees 1.25 from rupees 1 lakh per year. The budget, it proposed to abolish the angel tax for all investor classes to support startups and innovation. So that's all we have for the budget roundup. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe until we meet again with another video.